Today we're talking about the top 5 benefits of private flood insurance here in 2024 and beyond. So if you're a homeowner trying to minimize the cost of that flood insurance, just figure out what you can do to figure out how to get that dollar to go much further like I am, then this video is for you. So let's get started. Hi, I'm Chris, the flood insurance guru. More than 12 years ago, I bought a house in a high-risk flood zone, kind of like you can see right here, but I didn't have a waterfall in my backyard. And you see, there was a lot of things I wish I would have known. There's a lot of things that could have saved me a lot of headaches and avoided me a lot of costs. And that's what I'm doing in this video today, is helping you avoid that cost and those headaches. So let's talk about the top 5 things you need to know about private flood insurance in 2024. The first thing is coverage amounts. If you're not familiar with the National Flood Insurance Program, which is the FEMA-backed flood insurance option, they offer residential building coverage up to $250,000. They offer contents coverage up to $100,000. Those are the 2 coverages you can get on a residential property here in 2024 with a National Flood Insurance Program policy. The great news is with a private policy, many times you can get up to $4 million in coverage if you need to on the building coverage. You can get contents way more than $100,000 on contents, because let's be honest, $250,000 on a building and $100,000 on contents does not go very far in 2024. It didn't go very far in 2023. So when it comes to higher coverage amounts with private flood insurance, this is a big advantage of the National Flood Insurance Program. Now let's stay on the subject of coverages here. Now we're talking about broader coverages. Let's just talk about contents coverage, for example. The National Flood Insurance Program does not offer replacement costs on contents. Guess what? Many private companies do. This means if you bought a TV that was destroyed 10 years ago, you're gonna get the cost of what it would replace that TV today, not with depreciation taken out. That's big on contents. Staying on coverages though, something that private flood insurance covers as well on additional living expenses. What exactly is this? Well, imagine your property floods because maybe the dam broke, something you didn't expect to happen, and you needed a temporary place to live while your house is being repaired or replaced. This is additional living expenses. And I'll give you a quick story about how you might use this or how we had a customer use this. And that is, during the Nebraska flood of 2018, you had a lot of people who had damage. They didn't have anywhere to go. But this particular customer had just switched to a private flood insurance policy that had additional living expenses. She had 6 months of hotels paid for while her house was being repaired. This took a lot of financial stress. This took a lot of emotional stress off her and her family. She could keep working. Yes, she was inconvenienced by not being able to live in her house, but she had the expenses covered for her. This is one huge benefit of additional living expenses. So we've talked about those 2 things with coverages now. Now let's talk about pricing. You see, no matter where you go, pricing is going to be the same with the National Flood Insurance Program, unless you're taking over somebody's policy. With private though, every private company is going to be different. In many situations, it might be up to 40% cheaper than the National Flood Insurance Program. And I'll give you an example. We have a property in the North Georgia mountains we've been helping a customer take care of. The federal program wanted $10,000 a year. There was a private company that wanted less than $1,000 a year. Now, in many of these situations, like myself, there's something wrong there. Like this is some kind of bait and switch. There's no way that's right. But in fact it is, and I'll tell you why when it comes to pricing here. It's because the National Flood Insurance Program is looking at different rating factors. They're not using flood zones anymore. They're using things like distance to water, the type of flooding, all these different things. Private companies are using this as well, but they're also using some flood risk modeling, which is a flood risk score. You can find that in the description of this video. Click on our website and find the flood risk score of your property. And because of that, they're able to give many times different types of rates than the National Flood Insurance Program does. In fact, sometimes we see private companies changing rates every couple months, while with the National Flood Insurance Program, you may only see it once a year as maybe they update data. You may see it every couple years. It just depends. Everything's different. So that's how big of a difference pricing can be. You know, you may have one private company that's $400 a year. You may have one that's $4,000 a year. So that's pricing. Now let's talk about claims handling. Now look, typically private flood insurance can handle claims a lot quicker, and that is because they're not going through red tape. And I'll give you an example. During Hurricane Ian, we saw the average federal flood insurance claim take almost 2 years to settle. However, on the private side, on the claims that we handled here at the Flood Insurance Guru, we saw the majority of them settled in less than 6 months. Now look, flood insurance claims are completely different from home insurance claims. They can take much longer to settle because they're usually much more complex, they're much more severe, in many situations they're total loss. So there's a lot of documentation you have to get. So you've got to understand, regardless, these can take a long time to settle. So we've talked about higher limits of coverage. We've talked about broader coverage. We've talked about pricing. We've talked about claims. Now let's talk about some of these wait periods. You see, If you're closing on a loan or you're taking out a loan on a property, the good news is private National Flood Insurance Program should not be a wait at all. Great news. But what if you're not taking a loan? What if you're paying cash for that house, or you just want to take out flood insurance? Then that typically means the National Flood Insurance Program is going to have a 30-day wait period. The good news is many private companies' wait periods usually average around 7 to 10 days. This can be a third of the National Flood Insurance Program during times like hurricane season or spring runoff season. That could be the difference of having flood insurance when you need it and not having it. So these are the top 5 benefits you need to know about flood insurance in 2024. Now, if you want to know more about the National Flood Insurance Program and private flood insurance, make sure to click up here in the corner to watch our video on comparing these two and watch our playlist on flood insurance options as a homeowner. You can also download our guide to private flood insurance in the description of this video. Make sure to share, subscribe, like the channel. I'm Chris, the Flood Insurance Guru, and I want to say thank you for watching today's video on the top 5 benefits of private flood insurance in 2024. Remember, everybody's in the flood zone. It's just a matter of how quick water gets to you. We look forward to speaking to you in the next video. Thank you.